I'm not giving up, I'm not giving up, no, not me. Even if nobody else believes, I'm not going down that easily. So don't give up on me.
Hey everyone, are you rad for Christ? Are you fired up for Jesus? Welcome back to another episode of Radical Christianity, the talk show that highlights God in action. I am Drew, your host, and I'm so glad that you joined us today. Well, folks, last week I shared with you that Tennessee declared July a month of fasting and prayer. So it should come as no surprise that one prayerful city in the state recently washed down America's favorite pastime, not with a hot dog or soda, but a splash of holy water. How? Well, the minor league baseball team known as the Nashville Sounds celebrated in an unusual way, with a public baptism involving some of the team members right after winning the game. Talk about an after party. I guess you could say the crowd got 2 wins for the price of 1. The teammates even wore matching shirts saying Jesus won to mark the occasion. And following their game, first baseman Wes Clark was baptized by his teammate and friend in a horse trough, of all places. Wow, first Jesus born in a barn, and now this. Apparently, agriculture is quite the holy trend. Speaking of popular, I have been seeing those pools made out of livestock water tanks showing up in my feed lately, and now they are making a surprise appearance on game night baptism. What in the holy algorithm is going on here? After hitting a home run in the winning game, the baptism was performed and coordinated by outfielder Brewer Hicklin, who was reminiscent of John the Baptist. I guess you can say he hit 2 home runs that night. Considering this minor league team feeds the Major League Milwaukee Brewers, this may be a sign that the guy has something to look forward to. After all, he has already been a brewer his whole life. Now, these guys were blessed with lots of enthusiastic support from their team, leadership, fans, and even some members of the opposing team, revealing not only team spirit, but also the Holy Spirit. Can I get an amen? Man, baptism at a baseball game. What's next? Sermon on the mound? Anyway, the blessed ball player seemed to be on cloud 9 the next day, saying, "Had the privilege of being baptized yesterday on the field by one of my good friends. Thank you, Jesus, for this amazing moment in my life. It was such a special night." Amen to that, right? Hey, I have to admit, this story really hits home with me. All right, everyone, that's it for now. So tell me, are you rad for Christ? You fired up for Jesus? All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, our guest today has got a lot to say, so we're giving him the whole episode. So please have a huge, warm welcome for Rob Carter.
Hey,
Rob.
how are you, man?
Good to see you, man. Please have a seat.
Oh, thank you so much.
Rob!
Hey, Big Drew. How are you, man?
I'm all right, man.
Good to see you.
Welcome back to Radical Christianity.
Thanks for having me. It's always fun.
Yeah, you know what? We've gotten to be pretty good friends. I'm glad to have you here. So.
Yeah, better than Facebook friends. Huh?
Better than... What does that say?
I don't know. Not much, I guess.
We need to catch up on lunch, though, or breakfast or something.
Yeah, I'm all over that.
Yeah, definitely. So you have a lot going on right now. You have some movies to promote.
Much, yeah.
And then you have this radio ministry. And,
right. Yeah, that's those 2 are just 2 of 31 different ministries under the umbrella of Jaron Ministries International.
31 different ministries now?
Wow. Yeah.
That can keep you kind of busy.
It keeps me hopping. Yeah. Fortunately, most of our people are self, motivated, and they do get out there and do whatever God's calling them to do, and they don't need me, so that's a good thing. But it's exciting what some of the things that God's doing around the world through our ministry.
That's cool. So where do you want to start?
Well, I guess for those who maybe haven't heard the story, a little bit about the background. Dr. Jim Cece, who's in his final 6 months as senior pastor at Campus Bible Church, after going 30 years, is the founder and president of Jaron Ministries International.
Right.
JARN stands for Jesus Ambassadors Reaching Out to Nations, and we exist to equip leaders for more effective Christian service, and through those leaders reach the world for Christ. So a lot of the ministries are equipping, and some of them are service, but they all end up, helping leaders become equipped, or potential leaders become equipped to serve in their calling. So we're kind of a fly under the radar little ministry based in Fresno, California, but we have folks around the world, and like I said, we had 31 different ministries. A lot of those are different because of the missionary that founded that particular ministry. We have a guy that teaches in Honolulu he's a walk through the Bible guy who has got a new, unique way of presenting God's Word. Very fun. Of course, it started with Dr. CC training pastors in around the world, in the third world. Those pastors who probably pastoring a church already, but they've never had any formal Bible training.
Right.
So it's taking teams of pastors overseas and providing conferences and over like a 5-year period and equipping them, helping them get free Bible training, So it's always been a gift to them. We've never, Dr. CC doesn't never take any funds for his conferences or books or seminars or DVDs or whatever. All the donations go back into helping train leaders overseas. So things are changing since COVID. Exciting things with the radio ministry. I can get to that, but anyway, it started with Jim, taking teams of pastors and doing training, and the materials he developed for that. I came on as the missions guy. My background was youth ministry and construction. And so the vision was to do projects for indigenous pastors, taking teams of medical teams, youth outreach teams, different types of teams, tech teams, to do come alongside those pastors and beyond just biblical training. That expanded to helping different mission agencies. God thrust us into some jungle work and got quite a few years of intense jungle ministry, helping New Tribes Mission, Wycliffe Bible Translators throughout the Philippines, Southeast Asia, Papua New Guinea. And that was a really wonderful season of our ministry that has contributed to actually the movie ministry in some ways. So one of those ministries is our Code 3 International law enforcement ministry. And that was started because we originally were also part of Point Man Leadership Institute Global, which was started by Chief Bob Vernon from LAPD, retired under the umbrella of Hume Lake Christian Camps. And that was a leadership training for parliament leaders, law enforcement leaders, military leaders. And we got involved with that. A couple of our guys were veterans, and we were doing that. But my son, who was on staff at our church, ended up becoming one of the directors at Hume Lake for a couple of years, and then went into law enforcement. And we wanted to start a new ministry that was more bottom up. Top down was Point Man Leadership Institute, training generals and police chiefs and whatnot. But we wanted to work with line level police officers, and happened to be speaking in Africa for the Continent-Wide Christian Police Officers Association 15-year anniversary banquet, and I heard about the movie Courageous being filmed while I was in Africa. I came back and I called a buddy of mine who was part of Point Man, a Marine veteran, police chaplain / cop, and asked him, "Hey, do you know anything about this movie Courageous?" And he said, "Oh yeah, I'm working on the Bible study for it, but I don't know much about the movie." And I said, "Well, aren't you a little concerned about whether they nail cop culture for a movie?" He's very concerned. So we were able to get Chief Bob Vernon and this gentleman, Jim Bontrager, on set with Sherwood Pictures and at the time. They came back all fired up about it. So my son now is in law enforcement, and we met with Chief Dyer and Sheriff Mims, and they were super supportive about, we put on Central Valley Police Week up at River Park Shopping Center for the first red carpet premiere of the movie Courageous. And Kevin Downs, who is now CEO of the Kingdom Story Company, was one of the lead actors, and he brought Aaron Bethea, who was the lead actor in the previous Kendrick's, one of the movies, Fireproof. So that was our first red carpet premiere. We didn't know what we were doing, but it was a huge success anyway. And then we took it on and the team to the Philippines and shared it with about 4,300 cops and ministered to those families and had a huge harvest and got them plugged into the Bible study that Jim Bontraker wrote to go with the movie. And we partner with churches in the Philippines to do follow-up. And so not long after, with the help of the Regal Entertainment Group district manager, Rick Herman, was very helpful through those months. And he was kind of the number cruncher for Regal and said, oh, you guys were number one in all of North America for box office for Regal for that opening weekend. Well, all the filmmakers are looking at the numbers. You know, every opening weekend, it's all about opening weekend ticket sales in terms of determining the success. Then they go another week, and they go another week, based on all the competition that's on the other screens in each theater. But anyway, we other filmmakers started calling me because they were looking at the numbers and what's going on in Fresno, you know? Why did Courageous do so well in Fresno? Well, it was Central Valley Police Week and the work of my son and our team of officers. But they wanted us to help promote their movies as well. As long as we can tell our mission story about Courageous, basically it's share anything you want, just promote our movie. You know, so we started, and that was kind of a side thing. And I think that was, of course, in 2011. And here we are, 2024, and I think we've probably promoted around 130 movies since then. And, of course, you've been familiar with the recently more history of the red carpet premiere. So we owe a big thank you to the Central Valley folks that have been supporting the Faith Films because it's a very unique situation here in the country. That we're the only city that's been able to host all these red carpet premieres with talent on opening weekend. So as you recall, just a year ago, February, we had Jonathan Rumi here. Kevin Downs, every one of Kevin Downs' films with Kingdom Story Company, he wants to come back because he's from Visalia. He wants to come back home and do an event. So he brought Jonathan Rumi for the movie Jesus Revolution. And then he sent Pastor Dave Stone from the movie Ordinary Angels. And so I've got a T-shirt from that movie for you.
Awesome.
And we were blessed to have Pastor Dave Stone, who was part of the story, Finding My Purpose.
Yeah.
Excellent movie.
It was a really good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I believe it's on DVD now.
Oh, yeah.
So if you guys are looking to get your hands on that movie.
Yeah.
Is it streaming on Prime? And
I keep a running list. We are at NRB this year working on all the Faith Films and our radio ministry, and I try to keep a running list of everything that's coming out. But looking back, I mean, as of recent, Ordinary Angels, and then Brock Heasley, the local filmmaker, made the movie The Shift.
Right.
And he brought Chris Palaha back. It's the third time that Chris has been back to Fresno for a red carpet event. And we were able to help out with the Hollywood premiere. So a number of times our team has been able to help out in Hollywood or other cities where they've done premieres leading up to the opening week. And then the most recent was Unsung Hero, where Kevin brought Rebecca St. James, which was the Smallbone story.
Right, which was that movie was incredible.
Yeah, you were there.
Yes.
So here, we got to know.
I kind of saw it 3 times before it came out. So
I lose track how many times I see them all, but getting out and promoting them. But we got to know for King Country and the Smallbone family back when we worked on Priceless. And we hosted lead actress Bianca Santos here for the red carpet premiere. I think it was 2016. And the Smallbone clan are just awesome. And nearby we had Dave and Helen Smallbone here for a pre-screening at the Wilson Theater. And we just so happy that Cornerstone Church is on fire with these movies. We're doing a monthly Sunday night at the movies free event, bringing these movies back. So more to come on that. But Dave and Helen were here, the King Country and Rebecca St. James parents, and it was a great time. And then, of course, Kevin Downs was here with Rebecca for the red carpet premiere.
Right.
So whether it's a Sony film like Journey to Bethlehem last Christmas, awesome movie, or in this case the Kendricks brothers films, they're in cahoots with Sony as their distributor, so that's an awesome thing. So it's pretty amazing that you have Kingdom Story Company that is partnered with Lionsgate, and the Kendricks brothers that is partnered with Sony, and they're just bringing us great stories, great movies, great tools for outreach, evangelism, discipleship, and so that's how we view it. We are trying to help equip leaders and the Central Valley with these tools to reach out to their neighbors. Because, inviting a classmate or a coworker or a neighbor to church might not go over too well, depending on who we're talking about, even for Christmas or Easter. But they might come to a good movie. And that's the thing. The production value of these movies has been fantastic. So this weekend we have, of course, we just had The Sound of Hope has been in theaters, probably still in some theaters. We didn't get to do an event. We just too much going on to do them all. But we definitely do the Kingdom Story movies and the Sony movies with Lionsgate and Sony. So Sound of Hope, Possum Trop story is phenomenal. I don't know whether you've got to see it yet or not. But I think
Sound of Hope? That's the trafficking one, right?
No, that's the one about the African-American family in the South. I think it was in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken, that 22 families in one small church adopted like 70-some children that were hard case kids.
Right, so it's called Sound of Hope.
Sound of Hope.
Okay, and Sound of Freedom was the one I was thinking.
Yeah, that was an anomaly. That was phenomenal with Jim Caviezel.
Right.
That's another good movie that if you haven't, bring them up on stream or Netflix or wherever you can find them. But most of these good movies have their own website, and then it'll tell you all the different platforms where you can see the movie. And a lot of them have DVDs if people are still into Blu-ray or DVD. But thanks for having me back today, because we've got The Forge is the next Kendricks Brothers movie coming out, and it is phenomenal. It's kind of a sequel to the movie War Room, because they brought Karen Abercrombie back, who played Miss Claire in War Room. She's in this.
She played
this
Miss
is the
Claire
first
in this one
Kendricks
as well?
Brothers movie that Alex Kendricks is not starring in. He doesn't even have a role in this movie at all. But we have Cameron Arnett, good friend, coming. He's a lead in this movie, and a new actor plays the young man that just does a phenomenal job. Nobody knows him, but you'll fall in love with him. And then Priscilla Shire, who played in War Room, and who we had here for a red carpet premiere for I Can Only Imagine back in the day, back at Edwards. So The Forge is coming out August 30th, and we are not going to be doing opening weekend red carpet premiere for this one. We're kind of doing a special thing this time for leaders, so it'll be special invitation. So for pastors and their wives, or church staff, if you're on the pastoral staff of a church or part of a ministry in the Central Valley, the leaders of nonprofits, Christian ministries here are welcome. We're also looking to find who are the women's ministry leaders through the Mighty Men movement.
Right.
Casey Dickey, AJ Nunez, we've invested a lot. Dr. Cece invests a lot in men, a lot of men's movies, men's ministries. And this one, because this story is about a men's group, we want the Kendricks brothers to come out and speak to the women's leaders, women's ministry leaders. So if you're a women's ministry leader out there, contact me about a special invitation to a special luncheon that we're going to have on August 15th. And then we'll have a men's steak night, partnering with Mighty Men Movement and a few churches in town. On those events will be at Campus Bible Church, So it's close to Maya Cinemas where we're going to do the screening that night. So a luncheon for leaders at lunch hour, steak night for men that evening, and then the screening with the Kendricks at Maya Cinemas, 7 o'clock showing on August 15th. So those are all special invitation because it's a little unique situation that Sony wants to do this go around, which I'm thrilled for because there's so many good things going on in the Valley, as you know.
Right.
It's hard to get the leaders out to screenings to see the movie to help equip them. So we're investing in that focus on this one. But after that, we've got Reagan coming out the same. The Forge comes out, I said August 30th. I was wrong. The Forge comes out August 23rd.
Okay.
So we've got our special night with the Kendricks brothers coming. That's a big deal. The Kendricks brothers come to Fresno. So that'll be on the 15th. It opens on the 23rd. And, of course, doing a buyout with your group would be huge. Happy to share how that works if you want to contact us. But you can just go to the movie website. It's called theforgemovie.com. All kinds of information, resources, share tools, but you can see how group tickets work and get a good discount and take a home group, church group, Sunday school class. Whole church can do a buyout. Several churches, even Pastor Nate just talked with me before we came on here about doing a buyout for the Forge. So we'll go over and talk to them again when we're done here today. And walk through what that looks like. Because a number of churches have been doing buyouts and just having their own church party. It's great, to go to the theater. You got a multi-million-dollar tool in the film, and you get to go do church in a multi-million-dollar facility, and they pay for the air conditioning. And for just the cost of a discounted ticket, you can have a church party and really hear a story that is encouraging and challenging and uplifting, and that's certainly what we need in our country right now.
And it's good for the church because it's probably a lot easier for people to do some outreach.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? Versus just getting the whole church to show up.
Yeah. So, our event on the 15th is the Kendricks brothers to share in person the vision behind organizations, schools, reaching out and making opening weekend a big success. Those numbers are so critical because if you're going up the competition of other films coming out in Hollywood,
right? And
there's so many. Every movie has a message or multiple messages, And today we need positive, encouraging message for our youth. And so much of what Hollywood is cranking out is just terrible,
Yeah, they've just been regurgitating things. I can't tell. It blows my mind how often I see a remake of a remake coming out right now. Yeah, it's like it was an original movie, then they remade it, and now they're remaking it again.
Now it's a little more violence, a little more sex, a little more, It's just not
a little less story.
Yeah, less, more. It's all about the special effects now.
Special effects and all that. That's still cool.
It's cool, but
you can't base a movie on that.
But I mean, when you can hear a story that is life changing, and you can identify with each actor. Everybody in the auditorium can identify with one of the characters in the movie, and go away with something positive. Go away with and be encouraged or challenged to make a life change, So that's what it's all about. And of course, the movie Reagan, which is Dennis Quaid plays Ronald Reagan, comes out August 30th, and we did a screening for that here in Fresno. And it is a top-notch movie, very encouraging for, it wasn't planned to come out in an election year, but it just got delayed. But I'm glad, God has had his hand on that. I know the filmmakers, great guys, love to tell. John Sullivan was behind the movie Gosnell, and we worked with and had him here in Fresno. Just excellent filmmakers, excellent stories. And Reagan, you'll hear a story about Ronald Reagan that really shows that his history, believing in Christ, guided him with biblical wisdom to be the leader that he was.
Yeah, and I've seen the movie, and there's a lot of elements in there that you would not expect to be there, and a lot of stuff you didn't know about Reagan.
Yeah.
So it does kind of dig into elements that you probably didn't know.
Yeah. So this weekend, Disciples in the Moonlight comes out, and that's another good one. It's a very creative, interesting story out of Pinnacle Peak Pictures. Good buddy, lead actor. He does a phenomenal job. And then we've got the next big Kingdom Story movie is called Whitebird, and that's about during the Second World War and Jews that were persecuted by the Nazis. It's a movie about kindness and loving your neighbor in the midst of most difficult circumstances. So that movie is very encouraging, top notch. Go check it out on the internet, Whitebird. And we'll probably be doing another leaders event for that. Then Average Joe comes out. That's another Pinnacle Peak picture. That's about Joe Kennedy, the coach who was fired for having his football team pray on the 50-yard line up in Bremerton, Washington. His case went to the Supreme Court, and he won. Not many people know that his wife was the director of HR for the school district that was sued for his being fired. So even in their own household. But I've had some good conversation with Coach Joe, and we're planning on having it here in Fresno. And that movie comes out in October. Then what else we got? We got Best Christmas Pageant Ever coming out from Kingdom Story, and also Dietrich Bonhoeffer, Angel Studio Story. So there's others that are coming, even on into the next year. But so those are some of the highlights going on right now.
That's awesome. That's a lot of going on.
Very, very much going on. A lot going on, for sure. But back to the Forge and just touching on the Kendricks. I mean, I don't know whether you ever saw Flywheel. That was their first movie. Flywheel. A lot of fans. I think that movie holds a Guinness record for the most tickets sold for the lowest budget films. One of the, I think there's an X-rated movies that was the same deal. I have to look that up again. That statistic, but that's phenomenal that their first film ever, back in 2002, Flywheel, was a huge success, and still is. And then Facing the Giants, did you see that one?
I did see Facing the Giants.
That's a great football movie for youth. Then Fireproof with Kirk Cameron came out in 2007. And then Courageous, the one we talked about, that we used for Central Valley Police Week. And then War Room. Then Overcomer, and I got to be on set on Overcomer. I was actually in the opening scene.
Question on War Room, you say that the Forge is kind of a follow-up. So it's
the Forge is kind of a sequel.
So it's kind of like have some of the same characters that move from
some of the same characters, but also just some of the principles about prayer.
Okay, so like if they haven't seen War Room, it'd probably be good to catch that before seeing the Forge.
Go watch War Room before Forge comes out, and enjoy the connection between the two. Then Overcomer, which was about identity, another great film for youth. Took place with a high school group. Kid Cameron Arnett was a phenomenal role in that film. And then Show Me the Father came out, and then Life Mark in 2022, and now The Forge is coming. So all those films by the Kendricks brothers have been a huge success, and finally we get to have them in Fresno.
Well, nine successful movies. That's especially when they're all faith-based. That's pretty huge.
Yep. They intentionally make films for the church to be able to use for tools. That's their calling. Whereas other filmmakers will be more overt with the gospel in their film, or it'll intentionally be made to have the look of a secular film, so it reaches a wider audience, but there's biblical messages within the script. So they have been giving us a lot of great filmmakers today. Been giving us a lot of good choices, great tools to use. So There you go.
Well, it's really hard to get a film made. So the fact that the Kendrick brothers that are partnering up with Sony, were all 9 of those movies on Sony?
I think no, it was Sherwood Pictures at first. I think they finally made the connection with Sony about the time War Room came out. The final. I'd have to look that up. I don't remember exactly for sure.
Because Sony has a pretty steep reach. I mean, in fact, Sony is probably one of the bigger ones that have the international reach.
Well, they purchased Affirm Films, which was the executive for Sony executive is Rich Peluso, awesome guy, great friend, great team, and they're really intentional about making sure that they have quality films. So like The Star was an animation film, so good, a Christmas movie a few years back. And then this last year, Joel Smallbone plays with Antonio Banderas, in The Journey to Bethlehem. Such an awesome movie. Great, it was a musical. And excellent movie. That's one of those that's going to be shown on TV, every Christmas, just like The Risen was a Sony film, which was an Easter movie, Roman centurion story.
Yeah. I'm surprised there aren't more of those. I mean, considering how much success there was with movies like The Robe and Ben-Hur, those epic movies of the mid '60s that were just these, those movies. It's I'm surprised there are not more people diving into that.
The Risen is of that caliber.
Yeah.
In my opinion, in terms of the production value and the acting is excellent, just excellent, great story. And so we're excited about how God has been blessing the Central Valley and thanks to the support of people who've been buying tickets. They're there's a Barna survey I could talk about that we know who's spending money on movie tickets, and we know that like millennials, the boomers, and we know that people spend their entertainment dollars. Movies are still number one, and then the big sports events are number 2 in terms of entertainment dollars spent in our country. So my encouragement is that invest those entertainment dollars that you're spending in movies that will have kingdom value, have eternal investment.
Well, I mean, some movies, are obviously more easier to sell to the average person than others, like for instance, Unsung Hero. A lot of people didn't have any idea who the family was or whatever,
right.
But it came out near Mother's Day. The movie was very mother friendly, very mother centric. Rebecca St. James and the King of Country, they had an extremely large fan base already.
Right.
So you combine all those moving parts with, the churches and the movement that can come there.
Real plus. Plus, it's a great story.
No, it was a great movie. I literally saw it 3 times before it came out.
Great family. Great family. So and it's out on DVD and Blu-ray now, and also streaming. So we'll see Unsung Hero.
Yes. If you have not seen Unsung Hero, and you watch this show, you probably heard about me talk about it at least 10 times. I wore that bracelet, and every time,
did you? Good. Way to go, buddy.
every opportunity I talked about it and tried to get people to go see it. The movie was really, really good, and it needed to have that push. I mean, we live in a time where it's really challenging to get the message of, not just the gospel message, but show examples of hope and people that are living with Jesus as their center.
Right.
I mean, because in most movies nowadays, you don't even hear anything Jesus unless it's in a negative tone.
Right. And Ordinary Angels, Al Richardson and Hilary Swank just did a phenomenal job telling that true life story. So if you haven't seen Ordinary Angels yet, check it out online.
That movie was also really, really good.
Very good. Yeah, super.
Yeah. I mean, you had ringers in it too, of course. You know, people who know how to pick good scripts. You know, agreeing to do it. I mean, that's enough right there. I mean, I haven't seen Hilary Swank do a bad movie.
Yeah.
You know,
but she knocks this one out of the park. She plays Sharon Evans, who I've talked at length about. And Sharon says, "Yeah, Hillary does it better doing Sharon than I do." And so it's a great story. It's an awesome story that I'm sure you would enjoy if you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, if you when you watch that one, be prepared to be on the edge of your seat for about a third of the movie. It's really one of those. I did not expect that. I expected it to be a feel-good, family-friendly movie, and it was definitely a suspenseful, get you on the edge of your seat.
I got to go to the red carpet premiere in New York, Manhattan, and with all the actors. I mean, everybody was there. But one of the things I hadn't seen before is that they had packaged Ordinary Angels Kleenex tissues with the key art, the movie art on the cover, because everybody needed some little Kleenex in that one.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, so, yeah, thanks, Drew, for having me on and sharing what's going on.
You got to tell us about the radio ministry.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, we have a couple here in Fresno, Darren and Linda Alvord, who he spent his career in two-way communications industry and successful businessman, 6 degrees, PhDs, just a brainiac guy. And when he retired, he wanted to serve, and his wife was looking online, and they found an opening for someone a radio engineer on the island of Guam to fill in for their engineer at KTWR radio station, which is a shortwave radio station broadcasting into the 1040 window all throughout Asia, from Papua New Guinea clear up to Siberia. The spans around. They have 10 towers and 5 antennas that they can direct throughout. So Darren and Linda came and met with our missions committee at our church. They just want to let you know we're going to go serve for 6 months, on this short-term mission. And so I met with Darren afterwards. Well, check out the law enforcement. Check out, our military, because we have a veteran in military ministry as well. And check out, take the pulse of the island. It's America's most strategic military base. All of our armed forces have a base there. They're building a new big Marine base right now. And law enforcement, find out what you can about, the law enforcement ministry there, and just we looked at all the different options that we have. We have an extreme outdoor adventure ministry. I said, check out all the sports stuff that could be done there if we took teams of people over to do extreme sports and outreach. So he came back and gave a report that while we were there, they had learned about DRM, Digital Radio Mondial, which is digital shortwave radio. It's not a thing in the States because we're an internet-based country.
Right.
But he was fascinated by it, and they were just beginning to want to test DRM, digital radio broadcasting, around the globe. And Linda suggests, why don't we just try Dr. Jim Cece, our pastor, and one of his messages, So they put together a Christmas presentation with Pastor Jim, Pastor Gene from our staff. And it was 3 years ago, December 16th, the first ever broadcast Christian content in digital radio was sent out from the island of Guam. And in southwest Brazil, someone took a video camera, set it up, and took a video of their little shortwave radio receiver on a park bench, dog running around the background. Sent it back to KTWR and said, what is this? This is coming in crystal clear, not, analog shortwave radio. Crystal clear, as you and I talking right here. And so that was a shocker that it was so powerful, so successful. And the thing about digital radio, you can send documents, photos, scripture, whatever, on the same broadcast as the audio. And you can actually send multiple languages simultaneously, and for less power, less cost, because it's digital.
Right.
And so that was super exciting. He came back after his stay there, and actually he and I went back to headquarters of Transworld Radio in Cary, North Carolina, to meet with the executives there and share with them the story. And Darren had also simultaneously been working on computer-generated voices, and just most recently coined a new phrase, transclonal, because he took Dr. Cece's voice and cloned it, digitally cloned it, and we're translating Jim's messages, whether it be audio or text, into Cantonese. And just a couple of weeks ago, did the first broadcast ever simultaneously broadcast English and Jim speaking Japanese at the same time. So there's been about 10 firsts in world history that have been accomplished through the work of Darren and other engineers with Transworld Radios, just working together. And now we're on the verge of creating, having the first missions radio built receiver that's can be powered, solar powered, buried under the ground and waterproof and whatnot. And it not only listens, but it'll record on a SIM card, the messages, the documents, and even short video clips we've learned. So in the last 3.5 years, we've learned a ton, but we're now at the point where the window is open. And the exciting thing when we first dove into it, for being missions maniac is what we are, wanting to see, the Great Commission, the task completed as soon as possible, especially the 1040 window, which is between the 10th north and the 40th parallel throughout Asia, where most of humanity lives. Over 100 unreached language people groups, the largest, and billions of people. 5.2 billion people that yet have not heard the gospel. We didn't know how we were going to get stuff translated at one point, originally, or how would we get radios in their hands if somebody built a radio. Come to find out, when we were at headquarters in North Carolina, that China has already converted to DRM, and so has India on a fast pace. They have, even since COVID, they've been really clamping down on Christian content on the internet. And they can track and trace and persecute Christians in underground churches or wherever. And it's happening throughout the Middle East or in Central Asia. But they can't stop DRM. They can't stop radio broadcasts. They can't control radio broadcasts. But we've learned that even a third of the new cars in India already come with DRM radios built in, just like we in America have satellite radios built into our cars. So we're internet-based, satellite-based, and those two countries with the largest populations are DRM. They're fast moving to be DRM-based communications.
Why do you think that is?
Well, because they have millions and millions of people that don't have access to the internet. And it's much easier to control their masses communication-wise through radio than it is through internet. Okay. Think about the billions of people that still don't have the technology, but people have radios.
So don't they have to have a short-wave radio to pick that up?
Well, yeah, but they're out there already.
Okay.
They're already out there. And just like 3 weeks ago, we were told, I read an article that Chinese government is mandating that all new cars in China have DRM radios built in. So there's a quick movement toward that. At National Religious Broadcasters, we met with groups from the UK. So BBC is broadcasting on digital. So they send documents commercially and things like that on digital shortwave radio. Now, I'm not a radio guy. I'm just relaying. I may, mess up in trying to communicate the story. But the guys that I've been, Darren on our team are brilliant. And, and I asked Darren, I said, when he came back, we were debriefing from NRB, and I said, how are we how close are we to being on the cutting edge of this technology as a ministry? Mm-hmm. And he says, we're on the bloody tip of the spear, man. There's nobody else out there doing this.
So let me ask you, if it can send documents and audio, no problem, what about video?
They can send, we learned at NRB that they are now experimenting sending us small video clips.
But it won't be something that you can do streaming through or anything like that.
No, but we're getting feedback. I shared with the church this last Sunday, I did a presentation. And Transworld Radio has on their website testimonies from North Koreans that are smuggled out by, missionaries at high risk. That I weep every time I hear those testimonies, because they're Koreans reading the testimonies of North Koreans who are, underground church being persecuted, that are listening. Radios are smuggled in, and so it's super exciting. But we've received feedback from Pakistan, Siberia, all over the place, about the content and the quality of our production. And it's just I recently was looking at the history of the Roman road, because we wouldn't be sitting here in America and know Jesus and have heard the gospel if it hadn't been for 200 years before Christ came. The Romans were building the freeway system, right, and they still exist today. I've walked on the Appian Way in Italy, Appian Way, and how they built the road, the technology they had back then, they're super deep, just like our freeway system. They figured out what to do that would make a lasting freeway system.
Yeah. Labor was cheap back then.
And the funny thing I shared on Sunday morning, those Christian slaves that were helping build the Roman freeway system in the first century, I trust now in glory that they realize they can know and understand that we know Christ because of their labor. John Irwin, back on the movie Woodlawn, he made a video piece called "This Is Our Time," and he cited the fact that output deals on Christian movies that automatically go around the world, which is what's happening. If the movies really do well on opening weekend and grows, automatically they go international distribution. And John Irwin said, Irwin Brothers, King of Story Company, felt that Christian movies were the new Roman road to share the gospel around the world, because they can't be stopped, And at that time, he was saying China was building like 3,000 theaters a month around their country, movie theaters. Quoting him, if I heard it right. But I really believe the new Roman road is digital shortwave radio, because the technology is so far above anything else that's going on. I know. What can I say? What can I say? I'll block here things I can't say. The time is now to jump in, and so I'm thankful that we can share the story here today. As we're looking, we've always been a giving ministry. We've never taken a penny and never done any fundraising. But now's the time is the window to start manufacturing this radio. We're working with a firm, Mega Voice, who makes the audio Bibles and distribute those around the globe to underground churches and whatnot. And their contractor in India, everything's set. The stage is set. And we just need to raise $120,000 for the first round of radios, the first batch. And they claim, those can be distributed within a 2-week time to their underground network around the globe to test the technology, test the content that we're broadcasting from right here in Fresno. So that's super exciting, Drew. Thanks for letting me tell the story. Thanks for asking. But we're just praying that God's got in mind who's going to step up and invest in kingdom investment in the first round of DRM radios that can be distributed around the globe.
Yeah, well, I think that's a story that's just got to get that told to the right person. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm working on. Like this flyer right here, I'm trying to pull all the language in to be able to sit down with somebody who's an investor and say, would you like to be the first?
Right.
We're close. We're not quite there yet, but we're close.
Yeah.
A few days away, maybe.
A few days?
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's
but
very close.
I didn't know I was coming on today or I'd have a chance to share this, but...
Yeah, well, I'm excited to hear more about the digital shortwave radio. I mean, obviously, that sounds like a very interesting... I think most people, when they hear you talk about that, will probably be like, oh, shortwave radio, isn't that a step backwards technologically? You know what I mean?
No, digitally, it's a step farther than anything that's digital that's out there.
Right, like
now you think about it, because
a step further than like satellite radio.
Yeah, close. Your smartphone. I so jazzed because our tech guy came into our office and set my phone up to where I can send a print job to our copy machine in our office. Well, can you imagine being able to send a print job from the island of Guam? I mean, we email it to Guam. We broadcast it from Guam, and it goes all the way around the globe to people who can receive it and record it, audio and the documents, and share it. So interesting thing happened when we were at NRB. There was a group there from the UK, and they had this big new shortwave desktop digital radio, and our guy says, "Hey, can we do a test to your radio with a broadcast?" And sure. So he sets up the laptop and he's got this little, just finished engineering the chip that's making this possible. And we broadcast to this big radio, desktop radio. And the other guys from the UK there are pulling out their smartphones and they're opening up their app and they're listening and they're seeing the documents and the photos that were being broadcast with this audio file.
Huh.
And other guys are walking by. What are you guys doing? DRM. So they knew the world. They knew the technology. And they were super stoked that we're doing that there. And so I'm asking dumb questions to these guys that are in the industry and hearing about how they're using DRM in Europe, to send documents and whatnot. Super fascinated by it. But... as I walked away from that with the engineer who made this chip, I said, what just happened? He says, I think we just made world history. First Christian broadcast on U.S. soil, with DRM sending documents and photos, and then being received by a smartphone. So that's where the level of this technology that a smartphone, you download the app, you can receive the files, audio and documents, and share them from there.
Right, you could just download them on your phone.
Just like if I were to show, share airdrop to you something, I could receive something from around the world, then airdrop it to your phone. It would distribute.
What kind of file size limit does that have?
I don't know. I'm not the tech guy.
It's always a curious thing for me.
Yeah, but Dr. CC manuscripts his messages, and so we have the document, we have the audio file. I mean, it all can be shared, and that's what was excited Transworld Radio about Jim CC and his work, and all the conferences and seminars that he's put together through the past 40 years. That have been taught around the world. Now they can all be digitized and shared. And
your website's jaron.org. That's
we have a new
Jaron.
website. It's just in its infancy, but www.jaron.org.
Right. So if somebody's looking to reach out because they want more information on this, that's where they go.
You can send me on the movies or anything. Send info email and
awesome.
Contact us.
Awesome.
That's a brand new website. Our gal's working on it right now as we speak. But
well, that's cool. So thank you for coming to Radical Christianity and sharing all this stuff.
It's an honor to be here.
Yeah.
It's always fun.
And we'll have to bring you back when these movies are getting ready to premiere or that kind of stuff, especially when October comes around. Those other ones come in later. So
stay tuned.
Yeah.
Follow me on Facebook, Rob Carter, You see my wife and I there, and the movie The Forge is on the banner. Because that's basically what I use Facebook is to share the movies that are coming.
Yeah.
And communicate internationally with Messenger. But
that's awesome.
I don't. It's the one ministry that I post on Facebook, but the other 30, I don't really have the time to do that. We do that elsewhere. But yeah, you can follow me on Facebook or reach out on our website.
Yeah, excellent. So you guys go stalk him on Facebook. Rob, it's great catching up with you a little bit.
Good to see you, brother.
And
thanks for all your hard work.
And you know what we have our saying here is like, you're definitely rad for Christ.
Rad.
You're definitely fired up for Jesus.
That was a popular word back in what, the 80s?
Yeah, I know. There was even a movie called Rad. It was a surfer term, man. It was rad.
Rad. I remember that. Yeah.
So yeah, I grew up in that era too.
All right,
but
man.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a blast.
Cool. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for another episode of Radical Christianity. I hope you got some stuff out of this. It was pretty informative. If you want to go ahead and reach out to Jaron Industries, and Jaron International Ministries, just go. It's JARON.org. Make sure you go ahead and reach out to them, or find Rob Carter on Facebook. He looks just like the guy that was sitting here. And follow up on that. But I just want to take a moment now to talk to that one person who is sitting there thinking about whether or not he should dive into a relationship with Jesus Christ. Let me just say that if you are feeling that tug, if you're even pondering, is this something I should do? I'm curious about it. I'm wondering if this is for me. It's probably an indicator that it is. It's likely an indicator that it's time that you take that step. And if you're wondering, well, what do I do? You just talk to Jesus. You just tell him, say, hey, Jesus, I need you. If you could just change me, come into my heart, turn me into the person that you've designed me to be. Say something along those lines. There's so many ways to phrase the same kind of concept, but it doesn't really come down to a specific set of words that you have to use. It's just about feeling it. If you genuinely believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God and God raised him from the dead, and you say with your mouth that he is Lord, you're saved. Really, that's all it takes. But a relationship with Jesus Christ starts with a conversation. You just talk to him, and he's there for you. He will be listening. If you feel it, it's time. So I just want to encourage you to do that. And if you do that while watching this show, I would love to hear about it. And the way you can tell me is you can go to our website, radforchrist.com. That's RAD, 4Christ.com. And you can click on the link that says Got Saved. There's a little form there. You fill it out, and I can send you a Bible and a little gift to show you that we are excited you have joined the family of God. And if you have a question or a prayer request on our website, we have forms for that also. So if you want to know about the show, about the Bible, about our guests, about things going on that we've talked about, if you have questions about your math homework or something like that, we will try and help you out there. And if you have a prayer request, something that you need in your life, something that's bothering you, some challenge you're facing, please share that with us, and we will be happy to pray for you. Because we are here to serve. And this is the most important part, more important than anything else. And that is Jesus Christ loves you. And so do I. Thank you for watching Radical Christianity. We will see you next week.
And I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up, no, not me. Even if nobody else believes, I'm not going down that easily, so don't give up on me. We will keep you safe beneath the shadow of my wings, my love. I will keep you close to me. I can stand beneath the waves. I am here for you. Oh, like the bird